Let's talk about that feeling of being stuck, of running as fast as you can just to stay in the same place. We're going to look at this whole rat race idea through a really surprising lens, one that comes straight out of the world of computer programming. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? You work hard, you pay the bills, and just when you think you're getting ahead, you end up right back where you started. It's this relentless cycle, kind of like a hamster on a wheel. But what's so wild is that this feeling might not be random at all. One theory suggests it's actually a predictable outcome of a very specific kind of code, a social code that we're all running. So to get our heads around this, let's first look at the programming concept itself. Okay, so this core idea is something called recursion. In the world of computers, it's an incredibly elegant and powerful tool. But as we're about to see, it might also be the hidden blueprint for our entire social system. So what is it really? Well, put simply, recursion is just when something is defined in terms of itself. The classic example is standing between two parallel mirrors. You see an image of yourself inside an image of yourself inside an image of yourself, stretching on forever. It's a pattern that just keeps repeating within itself. Now, for recursion to work properly, and this is super important, it needs two critical ingredients. The Russian nesting doll is the perfect way to think about this. First, you have the recursive step. That's the rule that says, keep going. For the dolls, it's open the doll, and if there's another one inside, repeat. But then you have the second and arguably most crucial part, the base case. This is your stop signal. It's when you finally open a doll and there isn't a smaller one inside. You've hit the end of the line. And this really shows you the balance you need. The recursive step is the engine. It breaks a big problem down into smaller, manageable chunks. But the base case, that's the brake. Without that stop signal, you'd just be opening dolls forever. You'd be stuck in an infinite loop. The big takeaway here is you absolutely need both, a rule to go and a rule to stop. Okay, so we've got the logic down. Now, let's apply it. We're about to jump from the clean, predictable world of code into the messy, complicated reality of our social and economic lives. And this is where things get really, really interesting. The theory we're digging into here suggests that our entire society is running on a kind of recursive program. And at the heart of that program is a single rule related to debt and interest, a concept historically called usury. The argument is that our whole system is basically a function of this one repeating line of code. So how does this actually work? Well, according to the theory, the system's base case is fundamentally flawed. Every dollar, or whatever your currency is created as debt with interest attached to it. Then comes the recursive step. To pay back that original debt plus the interest, more money has to be borrowed, which, of course, also has interest attached. You can see the feedback loop immediately, right? You're always chasing a debt that's growing, always creating more debt just to service the old debt. The loop is baked right in. And just like a fractal, where the same pattern shows up no matter how closely you zoom in, this simple rule creates the same kinds of pressure at every single level of society. For you and me, the individual, it's that rat race feeling, the hustle culture, that sense that you never quite have enough. For corporations, it's the impossible demand for infinite growth on a finite planet. And on a global scale, it shows up as countries competing for resources just to pay the interest on their national debts. It's the exact same loop, just getting bigger and bigger. So what happens to a program that has that recursive go signal, but its stop signal, its base case, is broken? What happens when a loop has no clean way to end? Well, in the world of computing, the answer is a total disaster. The program gets trapped in an infinite loop. It just keeps calling on itself over and over and over again, using up more and more of the computer's memory to keep track of every single step, until eventually there are no resources left. It's called a stack overflow, and the result is always the same, a complete system crash. This theory basically argues that our society is heading for its own version of a stack overflow. As the pressure from that infinite loop builds, society naturally separates into layers. At the very top, you have the extractors, those who are processing the interest that's flowing upwards. In the middle, you have the vast majority of people, acting as a debt sponge, constantly taking on new debt to keep the whole system from collapsing. And then, at the bottom, you get the base case failures, the people who can't borrow anymore, where the loop finally breaks down into poverty and insolvency. And the symptoms of a system nearing this kind of overflow state, they're probably going to sound pretty familiar. When there's mathematically not enough to go around, you get hyper-competition. The system starts to devalue anything that can't be easily turned into money, like free time, nature, or even human well-being. And maybe, worst of all, society shatters into us versus them camps because everyone is blaming each other for the scarcity that's actually hard-coded into the system itself. But hang on, if the logic is this straightforward, why don't more people just see it? Well, according to this line of thinking, the system has a brilliant built-in psychological defense mechanism, a very, very powerful one. And this right here is the central metaphor for the trap. Picture an elastic band. You start to question things. You start to see the bigger picture, and that elastic starts to stretch. You can feel the tension building. But then, almost without fail, something happens that just snaps you right back to where you started, back into the daily grind. So what causes that snapback? It's a 1-2 punch of two opposing forces. First, you have the stick. That's the raw, primal fear of not being able to pay your bills, of losing your home, of failing your family. It forces your brain into pure survival mode. And then you have the carrot. That's the sweet relief. The paycheck that hits your account, the unexpected bonus. It's just enough comfort to make you sigh and think, okay, maybe the system isn't so bad after all. And you stop questioning. And this is the absolute genius of the trap, if you want to call it that. This constant cycle of threat and temporary relief keeps our attention laser-focused on the immediate game of survival. It eats up all our mental bandwidth, leaving absolutely no room to step back, look up, and actually analyze the rules of the game we're all forced to play. So, is that it? Are we just stuck in a system that's designed to crash? Well, no, not according to this theory. The solution isn't to fight the old code, it's to write a better one. The proposal is to evolve from our current unaware monopoly, where one single debt-based logic controls everything, to what's called an aware polypoly. In this new operating system, value doesn't come from debt, it comes from something intrinsic, something inside of us, our purpose, our unique talents, what the Japanese call ikigai. And when you do that, the logic naturally shifts from scarcity and competition to abundance and collaboration. And the base case, that all-important stop signal, it's not a system crash, it's the fulfillment of human needs. The whole idea is to start building new ways of exchanging value that are based on what we can actually contribute, not on what we owe. Imagine a world where instead of just using your unique genius to pay the rent, you're using it to serve your community, and the system itself is designed to support you in doing that. And this, right here, is the most important point. The goal isn't to attack the old system head-on. That just feeds it energy. The real strategy is to make the old system obsolete by building something that's more resilient, more meaningful, and just flat out better. You transcend it by making awareness itself the most valuable asset you have. And all of this leaves us with one last, really powerful thought to chew on. You see, once you start to see the carrot and the stick not as inevitable laws of nature, but just as functions, lines of code in a program designed to get a specific result, you gain this incredible new freedom. This whole theory suggests that we don't have to keep running the old software. We can choose to write and to live by a new program. The only real question left is, what's its first line of code going to be?